Good evening.
I need to throw. Oh my goodness, my thing looks bad. I need to throw up a little disco ball right here for the beginning of the show.
Yeah, that one's not rock. Like I usually use rock for a lot of our stuff, and that time I kind of went all dubstep techno kind of a thing.
I know you changed it up on me.
Genre.
I never know what to expect around here.
I just like to keep it fresh.
That is how you do. How you doing this week?
Oh, I am good. How are you? I just realized I left my notes somewhere. I lost my notes.
I am absolutely going crazy. Some of you that are tuning in right now on a Sunday night may realize that I have the Friday night background behind me, which means I haven't left my house in a week.
Okay, well, I'm gonna wing it tonight because I lost my notes.
Distance nerding.
Yeah. Oh, distance nerding. Okay, I don't even have a comment set. What's up? What's up, distance nerding? Dubstep is life.
Distance Nerding, make sure you are checking them out anywhere you can check out your podcast. Yes, and Distance Nerding is all over the place, all over California. And actually, they go on tour like out of state too. They go to cons all over. Say Wong, what is going on? We appreciate you tuning in with us tonight. I'm excited. Okay, not to give too much away about our guest tonight, but tonight is a different night for us because we have a video game producer on tonight, and we have never had a game producer on before.
Yes, he's the director for EQ Studios. I've played one of their games called the Pangs Creek Killings. It's very cool. The intro, you'll see more about that game. I played a couple years ago. It's a lot of fun. They have a new game coming out next year. Distance Learning says, yeah. Oh, so how are you, Van? For those who don't know, Van's recovering. He's sick.
Dude, I'm so bummed out. We had the Pokemon event yesterday in Sacramento that I saw pictures of. Of course, Kevin Hogan was there. Kevin's at any event.
Kevin, he's our convention connoisseur, convention enthusiast. He's at every convention in the area ever.
Right,
he really is.
So he was there. I got to see at least pictures. All right, DDN. They September 17th in Fresno and the 25th in Placerville.
Okay.
Woohoo! 27th in Fresno. I'm guessing that's Weekend Blender with Fresno Deadpools, I believe. I'm guessing. They're always doing.
Is it like just a gazillion Deadpools?
No. So the Fresno Deadpools is Lady Deadpool and Lady Deadpool Fresno and Deadpool Fresno. It's a husband and wife team.
Okay,
but they're very,
it almost sounds like a Miss Vacaville, but it's Deadpool, Lady Deadpool.
Yes, but their crowns are much better.
I would feel like I would need to bow on meeting them.
Unlike Distance Nerding, who has the Sacramento Deadpool.
Goodness, yes. All right, so for me, I had a meeting yesterday. I'm drawing images for a book, so do digital art. And
what's up, Raph?
Hi, Raph. Raph, we're just cleaning up some minor details on things. And next weekend might be our last meeting, and I get to turn them all in. And I'll have images. This is the book
that you were telling us about like 3 months ago, right?
Yeah. So we got because I had 12 pictures to draw, and I was delayed in getting stuff done because of me getting COVID and stuff like that. But I'm really excited about having pictures I drew in a book being published. So I think that's really fun and cool.
That's so cool. You will be able to go to the library and see your book.
And last Friday.
Oh, yes.
My husband and I went to see Whose Lines It Anyway cast. They're doing a tour. And they were here in my city. And we went to the show Friday night. And I got picked to go on stage as a volunteer.
Woohoo!
I got to be on stage with people I have watched for years. And I got to do... I don't know do you watch Whose Line, Van?
I did way back.
You did, okay. Yes,
I can't believe it's still actually running. It has been running for so long.
Yeah, they had a period of time where they didn't have the show, and they recently brought it back. Aisha Tyler's the host, and this cast was Jeff Brian Davis, Ryan Stiles, Greg Proops, and Joel Murray. He's not on the show that I've necessarily seen regularly, but he is an actor and comedian. He was hilarious, and I got picked to go on stage, and I got to do sound effects.
Woohoo!
So like I get on stage and I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing. And I hear we're doing sound effects and it's my husband's favorite game. And I was like, what do I do? And the way sound effects work is they assign you a character one of the cast members, and while they're doing a scene, you have to make all the sounds for like what they would be doing. So like one of them pulls out a chainsaw, and that's the guy I have. So I like made a chainsaw sound. And it was really cool. It was probably like, it's like that core memory thing people say. I will remember that for the rest of my life because I've watched these people for years.
That's all right. Cool. So how long was the show?
Yes. Hour and 45.
And it sounds like since this is a tour, is this something you would recommend other people check out if it comes to their town?
Oh, absolutely.
Was it worth the money?
I would have paid double what I paid.
Wow.
And they study like your geography, like your local area, and they make jokes. You're gonna hear my chainsaw. They make jokes based off. I will do it in a moment. They make jokes based off of where you live. So they're making jokes about Dixon, Oakland, Vacaville. They're making jokes about all of the area. And they said we'll be back next year. So I'm hoping they'll be back next year because I'll go again.
Ooh, we'll have to take the crew
my
down
chainsaw
there.
Was like, I'm not sure if it's going to be exactly the same because it was like, spur of the moment. It was like, gosh, it's so dorky. Yeah, it was. My throat like was kind of sore afterwards just because I was like so excited.
You were all into it.
I was so into it. I was just like, this is surreal. It still doesn't feel quite real. So it was just still really cool. All right. So, but to continue our show, to get back on track.
All right.
Is
nerdy news.
I gotta get my news in.
Yeah, I feel like a real news team now.
All right. So what's the news today? We have first, the D23 Expo was this weekend.
Woohoo!
So we have, I don't know why it's not showing nice and full screen, but whatever. So if you guys want to see mostly the Star Wars stuff from D23, but they had so many awesome things, there is a link down below that takes you over to StarWars.com where they talk about what was mentioned. Mandalorian Season 3 trailer was shown. More Andor trailer was shown. So many good things.
Mezzo, we are 10 days away from Andor. 10 days. Do you remember us talking about it like months ago?
I'm so excited for that one. I love.
Do you remember how long ago it felt when we were first talking about it?
Yes, I do remember. And I'm so glad it's so close. So check out the link down below for that. Also, one thing I wanted to point out that was shown at D3 was Little Mermaid live action starring Haley, I'm not sure exactly the name, I apologize, Bailey. She's black, she's beautiful. Oh, her voice is gorgeous. She's got some lungs on her. And I just think it's important because the representation. I saw so many videos this weekend of little black girls watching her, and I could just cry. I cried because I felt so much joy for them to see someone that looks like them,
right?
And that should be happening. It should be. Oh, I'm so happy about it, right. And it just looks so freaking cool too. So if you want to check it out, down in the description below is a link to the trailer. It's more like a teaser. Okay, there's only a few moments of footage, but it looks so cool, and I'm so excited for it. So even though that was announced in D23 along with everything else, I wanted to point that one out specifically. And dude, she looks just like Ariel. She's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, look at that beautiful face. And the voice is absolutely amazing. So please make sure to check those out in the description below.
Woohoo! D23.
Yeah, it was. New Rockstars did a live stream. They have a live stream Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific, and they did a special live stream for during D23 because D23 itself did not have a live stream.
Right.
Footage and such like that were only for attendees, but you could talk about what you were seeing, right?
Right.
So they had a live stream going with 4 hosts, and then Eric, Tommy, and Brandon, who are also hosts there, were there at D23, feeding the news, information. And it was almost a 3-hour long stream, and there was up to 16,000 people watching at one point.
Wow.
Yes, mods were a little overwhelmed, but it ended up just fine.
Wow, that is amazing.
Yeah, it was.
Eric gets married and just gets right back out there onto the back out there working. I know time for a honeymoon.
He just got back home and now it's time to work. So next we have our flow of the show brought to us by James Kaiser. This one's really, really interesting and cool looking. I'm not sure if I've really seen this instrument before. My brain is blinking. I don't know what it's called, and I apologize. Stefan Oz is our flow of the show today. So James Kaiser, without further ado, thank you so much, sir, for providing this flow for us. And here you go. It's so dramatic.
Ooh.
It was really cool looking to see all those. It just
looked like little jellyfish.
It was
It made me think of Ariel.
Oh, look! It's like another. Thank you, James Kaiser, for showing us that. The Flow's artist name is down below in the description, so you can check him out. So that was fun. I got to do some fun edits on that one.
Yeah, that was very cool. I like how every single week we're getting something completely different.
Yeah,
when we first started this segment over 2 years ago. Well, actually, no, this segment didn't even start. This segment started probably about 1.5 years ago. It was all just, I had only envisioned lightsaber flow. So it is absolutely amazing.
It's evolved. So.
Right. We get so many different types of flow. It's not just lightsabers. There's something for everybody.
Oh, so it's so touching. Next, we have our guest, and I am very excited. Okay, because I played this. There's this game I played on my stream channel 2 years ago called The Paynes Creek Killings, and it's a very it's kind of like that. I won't say intense, but like you're investigating. Okay, you're like a journalist, and you go to this abandoned town to find out who killed this woman named Vivian Roberts, and you're like meeting a PI who's missing and stuff, and it's suspenseful. That's the word I was looking for. Very suspenseful. And you're like investigating. And I had a murder board. Like I took notes.
Right.
I had a piece of paper that like I was writing all my notes and my suspects and everything down, like you would see in like the detective shows.
Right.
And I had all my notes of the codes and everything like that. I was talking with my viewers about everything that was like happening, and like we were working together on that. And the company is called EQ Studios, and they have a new game coming out next year called Scene Investigators. And the director of the Paynes Creek Killings is here to speak with us tonight, and I'm very excited about that. So here is the trailer for the Paynes Creek Killings, and here's our guest, Fairy Tomy.
Woohoo! Wow. Hello, hello. How are you doing tonight, Mr. Tomy?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you for having
Man,
me.
that was suspenseful. I felt like I was getting ready to watch a movie.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that was like the first trailer we made for the game, and we just kept it all the way.
Oh, that's incredible. Now you're the director of this game, is that correct?
Right, right. I work with another person. She and I co-wrote the story,
Hmm.
and she became our lead programmer, and I just work on the whole overview of the game.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, how many people total does it take to work on a game like this? Is it just the two of
Um,
you?
No, it started with two of us. Eventually, we have up to seven people when we did production.
Wow.
So, right, right.
But even, I mean, by today's standards, even that is a pretty small team, right? Or is that typical for you?
I think it is a small team
Hmm.
for so-called a walking similar type of game.
Hmm.
Um, I think seven is not big, but it's not small. It's kind of there, but I think it's considered a small team.
Right, 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 right. Now, how
Right.
long, Ferry? How long have you been making games?
Actually, that's our first one.
Oh, wow.
Right. We started. We actually made CG uh, freelance work, and then in 2012 we decided to try our hands at game development.
Right.
So then we stopped all the CG work, and then we went to work on that full time. And then in 2017 we released the game.
Wow. And so, was
Right.
this the first game under EQ Studios?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Wow. So what made you decide to go from doing the CG work to trying to develop your own game? And was that stressful? Because when you're doing CG work, that's for other clients, right? So they know
Right.
what they want, they know what they expect from you. But when you're creating your own game, there's a lot of pressure on you to do it right.
Right. Good question. I think that if we knew we had all those pressure, we wouldn't have started. We really didn't know. It's just that we were doing CG freelance work, and
Hmm.
I think that we were competing with a lot of other freelance artists from all over the world.
Right.
And at some point, it was a little bit tired to do job hunting. So we talked about it, and we thought about why not try, to go into game development. And I think at that time, I'm not sure it was that year or not, but we played Gone Home.
Right.
So and we thought, wow, it was a pretty cool game. And then I think like it kept me all the way to the end. It was pretty short, but it worked very well in terms of the game design,
Hmm.
And so we thought, why don't we try and see if it's possible? Since we already know how to make assets, we know how to make the environment and all this.
Right.
And if it's possible to make a story that's compelling enough for the players to want to play all the way to the end. And
Right.
so we decided to go with a detective mystery investigation.
Hmm.
And the hook will be, can you find out who is the so-called killer? And so we
Right.
went
Right.
with
Right.
that route.
We got a comment down here. Wade Lady says very much enjoyed Payne's Creek Killing and looking forward to seeing investigators.
Thank you.
Excellent. So now, did you are you personally like a fan of like detective stories? Have you read a lot of detective stories, or what made you decide?
Um,
Okay, the detective story route is the angle we're gonna take.
I think I grew up with Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew,
Mm-hmm.
so that I think was kind of like the pillar of one of my passion. But
Mm-hmm.
it's not until like the TV show The Killings, Zodiac, the film, and where it literally hooks you from beginning to the end.
Right.
And that's I realized one of our main interests is in that genre. And at that time, I think Walking Simulator was just a good fit for trying it out.
Mm-hmm.
And not having a programmer when we first started really limited us to not being able to try any other genre except the Walking Simulator.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
that turned out to be a blessing in disguise somehow.
Right. And
Yeah.
how when you first sat down, did you kind of have a basic story in mind, or maybe just a couple characters, and it evolved from there, or did you spend a lot of time researching other games and movies and things to try to figure out how you were gonna separate yourself from all the other investigation type games?
We love the films and the TV, right? So, but I think that when we played the detective games, a lot of them is in that genre, but somehow either it's very frustrating when we couldn't solve it, or
Right.
it was very linear in a way. You go from A to B and then to C, and
Right.
so even though there was a good narrative or story behind it, but the gameplay didn't really make us feel like real
Right.
investigators, right? So when we look at films like Zodiac, right, when the I think he was the comic artist
Right.
for the press. He was really trying to decipher and solve who the killer could be, and it just builds up the climax, from beginning to the end. We thought that, wow, if we could have something like that or that kind of experience in a game, it would be the kind of game we would like to play. So
Right.
in a way, we made a game that we want to play.
Right. Right. Right.
And so we went into it. As for the story, no, it was a very simple one. Someone was killed. Let's find out who the killer is, and
Right.
it's in a town, so it's going to be just in a house or two. But along the way, it expanded into, I think, up to 17 NPCs
Oh
with
wow.
about 11 or 12 locations, and then we have to build the whole village. That
Right.
we really didn't expect.
Right. When I
Yeah.
was watching the game through, it felt to me very much like what do you call those the escape rooms? That's what it felt like. It felt like I was inside an escape room.
Right. That's we didn't expect that. I mean, when we are designing, because I think it was our first foray into the game industry, we have no experience at all. So we took what we understood about film,
Hmm.
and we created the three structures, three act structure with plot points and midpoints, and that was the whole design. But I grew up doing loving D&D.
Hmm.
So D&D is very open world. There is no A to B to C. You are given the world. You decide
Right.
where you want to go, and we
Right.
thought that would make an investigation feel real. We thought so. We
Right.
used that formula, and we just threw it there, and we used the plot points to lock. In a way, your progression, which is you need a very important part in order to progress through the plot points. But
Right.
other than that, in each act, you are free to go wherever you want. And I
That's
think,
incredible.
right,
And
and yeah,
go ahead.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Sorry.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I think that was the thing that worked for our game.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Now, is it difficult to create something where you're trying to make it open world and you're trying to make it as free as you can for the player, but at the same time they have certain objectives that they have to meet, right? So you can make it open world, but at some point they've got to be kind of led towards where the story is evolving, correct?
Right, right. I remember that when I took a film class, one of the thing was that how can you keep your audience, hooked for 2 hours?
Right.
And so they have like at the 30 minutes point, there needs to be a plot point one, right? And then at the 60-minute, there needs to be a midpoint. And then at the 90-minute, there needs to be a plot point two. And also throughout the whole journey, the audience as well as the protagonist in the film should know what his goal is.
Right.
So, right. So in that sense, we try to apply that into the game so that every hour or two, you kind of are guided in a way where remember what you're supposed to do. So we put a few hints here and there so that when you pick it up, you remember what you're supposed to do. And
Right.
I think that was like what we designed, like what the design is. Yeah.
Right. Right. Now I know with me, when you go into I mean I'm just using the example of the game room, but when you do a game room or you do games, obviously there are some people that are more intelligent than others. Some people are going to pick things up right away. Some people it may take them a
Right.
while to figure out. Was it difficult for you guys to come up with puzzles and clues that were challenging enough that people weren't just going to get it right away, but not so challenging that somebody's going to give up on the game? Because I could see how especially this type of game, investigation games, people could get frustrated and throw down their controller and not want to pick it up anymore. How did you
Right.
find that balance?
So for that, I think that for the main story, we decided that the main story should be the one that the players should not get frustrated or really stuck at. And so for that, we provide more clues than it's necessary, just in case you get stuck, right? But if you are the type of players who wants to complete everything, there are kind of so-called side quests. They aren't really side quests, but they kind of stray away from the main storyline. Those, they have less clues. And the one that is really not as important to the main storyline, you might not just get one clue.
Right.
So that's the kind of the design. But we also made it so that if you how to say, like like in real life, there isn't really a puzzle.
Right.
When you are solving something, you go for the hints, you go for the clues, right? And hopefully those clues lead you from so-called location A to location B, right? So we decide to design the game like that. So we don't have real puzzle. What we have is more like a true crime puzzle in which if you have experience in this world, in this real world, when you play our game, that becomes your asset. Because you don't have to learn what the puzzles are. It's all about finding the clues.
Right.
So the only puzzles we have are like codes, let's say codes, or you need to find a key. Those are kind of like hard locked into the game. But even then, you can brute force your way though. Let's say you have a 4-digit code and you found 2 clues, let's say, right? You decide you're going to brute force the last 2 numbers. You can try. And maybe after half an hour, you can actually unlock it. So you don't have to find all the clues, and yet you can still progress. But for some people who don't want that, eventually you can find almost all the clues, and then you can proceed. So we try to make it so that it appeals to different kind of players.
Right. I know Meso, our director, said when she was Twitch streaming it, she got 94% of all the things. Have you had anybody that has not been able to, or have you had anybody that's found every little clue and Easter egg that you put out there? Or are there still some secrets waiting for people to find?
No, I think there are people who have 100% and they post their screenshots on the Steam page, and now,
how does that feel for you? Does that make you feel like, oh, we got to make it harder next time, or do you feel accomplishment when these people hit their 100%? Or
we actually are very happy for them. So whenever they post 100%, we thumbs up. We are very happy that they actually found everything.
Right.
But they don't need to find everything to solve the case, though. That's not the goal. That's mainly for completionists.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you're always going to have some completionists out there.
Right.
So now let me ask you, when you were making this game, I know, okay, with a lot of other game companies, either they have a nice large bank that they can take their time to work on games, or sometimes they have to do crowd fundraising to do a game. For you guys, you completely switched your business model from one thing to another thing. Was that scary for you, or did you feel like, oh, we got this? I know for 100% this is going to be a good move for us.
If we knew what we are going to face, we would never switch. Right? Because we tested the game on Unity 4, which is a previous iteration of the game engine, and it kind of worked. So then we decided to switch 100% full-time into game development, right? And it was supposed to be 2 years in development. By the time we launched the game, it's over 5 years. Around 5 years, right? So we didn't expect that long. We didn't expect it to be that big, and we didn't expect it to be that complex. It just expanded as we developed the story. So going back to your question, is that no, we probably didn't plan everything, and we probably had when we started, we had all the confidence, but looking back, it's like we have 30% confidence, and we thought that we had everything, and we just jumped into it.
That's got to be. I can only imagine, especially maybe as the director, because this is kind of your baby, right? But I can imagine if you originally envisioned that it's going to take 2 to 3 years, and then you come up to the 2 to 3 year mark, and you realize you still have a ton of work ahead of you. Were there times when you got discouraged and maybe wanted to throw it all, just clear off your table and say, forget this, I'm done with this? Or did you always have that drive to really see this through?
I think we were lucky we had that drive. We just want to make a game, at least if it doesn't sell, but at least it's a game we want to play. And so I think we stuck with that vision, and we're lucky to be able to have that, And I think the team also sort of like, they help a lot. I mean, without them, it's impossible to make the game.
Right. Now, when you started, was it just the two of you when you started and the team expanded as you needed more people, or how did it at the beginning start?
Right, it was only two, and then along the way, we realized that we need help, so we start to ask people to help with production, so that my co-writer went on to become the programmer. So it expanded along the way.
Okay, so I want to ask a question, and if you're not comfortable answering, you don't have to answer. I'm trying to understand how a small game company grows. But in the beginning, when it was just the two of you, right? I own a small business myself. I own a lightsaber store. So I understand that sometimes you have a vision as a business owner, but you don't have the work. You don't have enough workers. You don't have the right people in place. Were you hiring people to come on, or were you looking for volunteers, or were they friends that you knew that kind of helped you, or how did you get the people that you needed for your team?
For the Pins Creek Killings, our first game, I think we are very lucky because prior to switching gears into game development, we actually, me and my co-writer, we were teaching CG to high school students.
Right.
So when we needed to find people to help out with production, those students graduated from school and then they joined us.
Wonderful.
So they had the skill sets, and we already knew each other. And in a way, it's voluntarily. They help us a lot. Yeah. So we are just lucky.
Right. Wow. And if you're bringing on students, I mean, that means that you're basically the breadth of the knowledge and the experience, right? Because they're learning from you. But as somebody who had never made a video game before, did you have any other kind of mentor, or maybe another friend that was a game developer that could give you tips, or were you just figuring everything out as you went?
In our case, about the CG part, I had mentor. I had teachers from school who were industry professionals. They gave us a lot of good advice. But for gaming, we just went along and learn everything on our own. And even when we released the game, we didn't have marketing. We didn't know how important that was,
Right.
And I remember, I think our wish list was like 120 people when the game was launched.
Right.
And we didn't know what to do. So, but I think we are just very fortunate, somehow. But for investigators, we are not going to. We learned a lot from the first one. So yeah.
Right. Now, being a small group in what for you is a new industry, and you're putting out your very first game, and you just talked about how important marketing was for you. You didn't know how important that would be. But do you think it was an advantage or a disadvantage being a small company that nobody had ever heard of, right? If you were a big company and you had already put out, hit games, people have higher expectations of you, right? But if you're a brand new company and nobody knows what to expect from you, I feel like maybe you might have a little more leeway. Was that the case? Or was it more difficult because nobody knew who you were?
Well, I think I would say that it's more difficult because after we launched the game, we brought the game to Expo, to PAX, and I met quite a number of publishers, and and I talked to them because I wanted to know if there was any company that's willing to be our publisher.
Right.
And no one wants to be our publisher.
Oh, wow.
Right, and they talk about you release your game in the quarter 3 of the year. That's a no-no. Because you're going to be competing with AAA companies, right? And on top of that, you don't have marketing. There is no presence. There's no visibility. So for them, this is a gone case. So and from there, I realized that it is a disadvantage. Again, I also read an article that talks on Gamma Sutra that says to make a game, you need first a really good product. Second, you need a great marketing, and the third is you need good luck. I think that we don't have we have a okay product or good product. I hope we don't have marketing, but I think we had some luck, and I think that's why we are able to have a second product, which I think a lot of companies, unfortunately, might not have that kind of luck or fortune.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, when you went to the Pack Game Expo, I mean, obviously that's a really big deal, especially for a first time company, and you're getting all these companies that are rejecting you and telling you. First off, it sounds like you got some really good knowledge from them, but once you were able to get over that initial hurt, did you feel like, okay, we know what we need to do now, let's redouble down and focus, or did you feel deflated, or how did that go for you?
I think I felt a bit deflated. I felt like if I could rewind time, I would have tried to do it differently, but I thought that was also a learning process, because if we never really fail, I think that and we are smooth sailing all the way, and I think that when we really fail, that would be bigger. But that we are nothing. I mean, we have nothing, and we are a really small company, and it's our first try. And a number of us, I mean, we are just like friends and co-workers and mentor and apprentice. We are all working together, and I thought that we needed to face that reality, so that in the future we kind of know what to do or what not to do because of our failure of certain parts in the first game.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And do you so going into your second game, well, how did you? Okay, so when you finally released your first game, how did you get people to know about it? You obviously talked about how marketing was an issue for you guys. Did you go to like other game expos and just try to get people to play it? Were you going to local video game place? How did you get people to know the name of your game and to start talking about it?
So I think what we tried to reach out to any press that we can. And I remember that more than half of them never replied us.
Right.
And those that replied us asked us, why did you send the game so late? Like they have 2 months backlog of games that they have to review, right, before they even have a chance to tackle ours, Right. But we had a few lucky ones, like IGN Japan. They decided to review our game. So that helped a bit. And then I think more important was that we tried everything. We tried sending to press. We tried to find influencers. We tried to go to expos, which cost money. And honestly, expos, it didn't. I mean, I'm not saying it didn't work for us, but the cost is very high and the returns is very, very low.
Right.
But we thought that 6 months after we released the game, while we are still in the process of optimizing again, so we failed in that aspect. We should have optimized the game before we release it, but because we tested on our computers and it worked even on the decent spec, but then we didn't know that a lot of players are having issues, so then we decided to tackle optimization, which lasted another 9 months.
Oh wow.
But having said that, 6 months after releasing the game, while a few of the people are trying to optimize the game, we decided to localize the game. That turned out to be a big deal. So our first localization was Japanese, and then with IGN Japan deciding to cover our game, I think that localization helped a lot. So after that, we went a Russian localization company approach us and decide to help us for free.
Oh, wow.
We are so grateful to them because their localization is, I would say, it's really great. It's like perfect because no one actually said, "Oh, the localization is quite off," you know.
Right.
And then we pick up sales on the Russian fans. So then we decide to go with Chinese, not seek for a lot of money. So they actually localize for us, and they say that if they localize the traditional Chinese, so then that boosted. So after that, we continued to do localization, and eventually we went with Level Up Translation, which is really professional. And we eventually have, I think, more than 10 languages eventually. And that localization was the way that we could generate income because the US sales accounts less than, I think, about 30%. The other 70% came from other languages.
Wow.
So that was, I would say that if you have marketing, go for marketing. If you do not have marketing, don't give up on your product, but try to think you have this product. And if you think your product is worth sharing with others, think about how you can approach it. So try everything, even if it feels it's fine. But I do think localization is really, really huge.
Wow. So it sounds like that article that came out in Japan's IGN magazine really was helpful for you guys. It sounded like a jump start.
Right. Actually, that was not the biggest jump start because there was one publisher that decided to sign us up and try for 6 months, which later we extended for another 6 months. They are M4. And after they signed us up, they did a big sale, a really big one, 75% off.
Oh, wow.
And that generated a lot of sales, even though it was 75% off, but it was huge. It was like really, really big. And then later on, we had one Japanese player who played it, and he loved tabletop RPGs. And when he played our game, he felt this is like a tabletop because our design is stems from D&D. So
right.
So he tweeted it in a way where he made it really interesting to read, and that went viral. So that helped us so much. Then later on, when we released the Korean localization, usually, you know, when we have any other languages, it lasted maybe a month or two, or at most 3. But this Korean localization lasted 6 months to 9 months. And we didn't even know why or how, but it just kept generating revenue for us. Right. And on top of that, Steam has a lot of big sales every year. And plus, you are given opportunities to do your own week-long sale. So we grab every opportunity we can. And I think that turned out to be a big deal.
Right. Now, in your case, I mean, okay. So please forgive me if I don't necessarily understand how all of this works on your end in your world. But when you release, let's say your release date is, September 12th. Let's say you're releasing a game tomorrow. Even though you release a game tomorrow, there's still, like you were talking about, having to do optimization for like another 9 months after that. Is that correct?
Right.
So when you release something, it's not just like you release it and you're done and you can go have a beer and start on the next game, right? There's still a ton of work to do on that game, even though it's technically released, correct?
Right. Ideally, you do not have to optimize after the release. You optimize before the release, and after the release, you just do customer service. You help out anyone that has issues. We just... didn't go that way. We made a mistake.
right. But I mean, this is your first game, your first as a new company. So I think these things are to be expected to some degree. How did all of this? Okay, so at what point when this game first came out? I mean, I'm guessing it didn't just your first day you open, all of a sudden you had 1,000 sales. How was it in the beginning, and then compared to it ramping up? And at what point did you feel like, okay, we have a successful game here, that you were no longer worried about if people were going to like it, or or if you were going to be able to make another one in the series?
Right. Actually, our sales didn't. Like most games, I think that they talk about the initial launch is the best, is the peak, and after that it will decline.
Right.
Ours, we never had that peak. our peak happened when the Japanese player tweeted it, or when we launched a new language and someone played it and he had a lot of followers. Like this Russian player who had 7 million followers.
Right.
Suddenly, that was a spike, right? So, in our case, I think when it was released, we couldn't really sell the game. We were quite devastated. We then read the reviews, and the reviews were the only thing that comforted us.
Right.
So then we thought about what to do. And to be honest, we didn't know. We never thought about switching back to CG production. We just thought like, let's see what we can do with our game. That was the only mindset we had. And I think we were pretty naive at that time. But looking back now, I think we were very fortunate or very lucky. We had that fortune to just try to push it. And eventually the localization was the one that tied us over. And once the localization started to work, starting from the Japanese and the Russian one, sales just kept coming and it became very stable. It became stable for 4 years. And we really didn't expect. So now we know that for the next game, we'll try to localize as much as possible before we release.
Right.
And right now that TPK is in the Pace Killings, we call it TPK, is after 4 years, it is declining for sure. But in terms of the revenue, it tied us for that long, and I think we are grateful to that.
Wow. Now, Fery, I want to ask you, and again, you don't have to answer if this is too personal, but when you started making this game, were you a single man or a married man, or?
I was single.
Okay, so that explains a lot, right? You can do a lot more when you're single. You have less thing. I mean, because when I was single before I had, a child and stuff, I would do things a little more dangerous. I wasn't afraid to maybe sleep in my office or something like that, or go without a meal or two because I'm just affected myself. When you have a family, it's a whole different different dynamic. When you were developing this game, you said originally you had thought maybe it would take 2 years, and then all of a sudden 2 years turns into 4 years, and then 5 years. Were you your company? Okay, you used to do CGI work. Did you kind of bank a bunch of money and go, okay, we have this amount of money, and this is going to last us for this amount of time? Or were you constantly taking in side work, or were you working at Taco Bell at the same time? Or how did you keep the flow going, especially when your timeline started to extend out and things weren't necessarily going the way you thought they would?
Right. I think that we used up all our savings for sure. Right. And I think the first 2 years, there was only like 2 or 3 people. So we didn't have to spend a lot. This is my house. We work here when we made the game. When it was released, we are still working here.
This is where all the magic happened, huh?
Right. So in a way, it's just if we are able to sustain ourselves, that was kind of good enough, right? But later on, of course, I think we did run out a bit low on our fundings and budget. But we were lucky enough that there are some sponsors that kind of supported us, and we were able to tide over until the end of the development. So, but right after the development, when we had revenue, then the sponsor stopped. So we had to use the revenues that we have to sustain ourselves.
Right. Were you pretty confident the whole time, or was there any points where you were just worried about, oh man, I made the wrong decision, I should have stuck with the CGI work? Or were you confident that even though you had your dips and your valleys, that in the end it was going to be worth it?
That's a good question. Again, looking back, I would probably not have done it. But along the way, I didn't doubt or at least my co-writer and me, we never doubted ourselves. But again, we really thought it would be done in 2.5 years or so,
Right.
And so when we had to delay, okay, let's delay another 6 months. So that 6 months turned out to be 6 more times.
Right.
So I think that if we didn't have the support of the investor, I think there's no way that we would feel that committed. But also when we were working on it, we were all singles. I was single, she was single, right? And we worked. In the beginning, we didn't work that long. We are just doing it as a hobby job.
Right.
But we were really passionate about the work. And eventually, it turned out we work from morning to night. But because it was a hobby job, we didn't even think that it was like a job. Even if we stop work, I'm still thinking about the story. She's thinking about how can I be better at that programming part, which I got stuck. So I think that is important, because when we were doing other kind of jobs, if it's not a hobby job, then yes, we probably wouldn't last, and we would be counting the hours, we'll be worried about the financial situation. But now that I have children, I cannot work from like 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., and then go to bed. I cannot.
Right. Now, you're getting the game that you're working on now is your third game. Is that correct?
Second.
Oh, this is going to be the second game then.
Right.
Okay. Is it hard? Is it hard switching gears mentally from one game to another game? I know as an artist, sometimes you feel like your art is never done. There's always something else that can be done to it. Maybe you want to tweak the music or change the lighting or the coloring or something like that. Is it hard to mentally switch gears to a new game?
I think that if you are working on the same type of game, and you kind of know that's your strength, I think it's not difficult to move on to the next project. If you're working on the different ones and you start to realize that this is not what you love doing and this is not your strength, you're just doing something that maybe the market wants, you get burnt out more easily, and then that's a danger. Right. So yeah, for our second game, it is still in line with the type of games that we are working on, so I think that's fine. And also when we are doing the first one, even before we started, we really look at what is our strength and what is our limitations. And there's so many limitations that we knew that if we try to incorporate all of those, we cannot even make it halfway, right? So relying on the strength allow us to move forward. And despite having setbacks, obstacles, we didn't feel like it's a huge one. Even though it is a big one, but we feel like let's sleep over it, and tomorrow let's come back and then let's try to tackle it. So this second project, Sea Investigators, I think that we have a similar mindset. And this second project, the idea didn't come from me. It came from one of our staff members who worked on the first one, and we played his game jam, and it was fun. And so we decided to develop it. So in a way, it is his project. Yeah.
So this is not a follow up to the first game, then, right? It's a completely different, separate, but same type of game, but different story.
Right. The first one, I would say that it is a story-rich, narrative-driven game, which is we use something. In short, it's a breadcrumb system. You see a breadcrumb, you pick it up, you follow the trail, and eventually it leads to somewhere. But we for our second one, we didn't go that way because the idea came from the staff. His name is Yoshia, and so what the game is actually about deduction reasoning. And so you don't have a village, you don't have 11 locations, you don't have 17 NPCs. What you have is a room or a house, and a murder was committed, and so are you able to find out what happened, and then solve or answer the questions that's presented in that crime scene. So it's it's more like a true crime puzzle as opposed to a narrative driven or narrative focused game.
Right. Now, do you worry at all about kind of like getting caught in the George Lucas syndrome, where now you've developed two of these mystery games, and you're going to get lumped that way, or are there other types of games maybe that you want to try, or do you worry that from now on all you can ever do is make mystery games?
No, because personally I love the mystery investigation aspect, the detective genre. So I am actually thinking what to do for a follow-up of the first game.
Ooh.
Right. So even though they are so kind of like similar genre, but when you play the game, it's very, very different. The
Right.
first one really is kind of like Gone Home on a bigger scale.
Right.
This one it's like it's not really like a CSI, but it's more like the TV show The Closer.
Right.
You are presented with a scene, and are you able to nail everything? Are you able to understand what happened so that you can find out who the perpetrator is, and what happened to the victim. So when I step back and look at it, it's same genre but very different style. So after finishing this, we are going to move forward with probably these two types of genre, and we will continue to develop. So I think that that's what we are kind of thinking to do.
Right.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And do you find it harder? So the first game was kind of your brainchild and your partner, but now you're almost sitting kind of backdoor to somebody else's game within your company. Is that more challenging, or do you feel a less pressure?
Well, the first game, we wear many hats. That's all I can say. But the second one, I'm kind of in the role of the project director. Mm-hmm. And then we have someone who is in the role of project manager, and then the job becomes more more precise, but right. You are still wearing a lot of hats. Oh, hi, my daughter's at the back. Right. So and hi. Sorry.
No problem.
Hi. Okay. Sorry, what's your question again? I kind of distracted. Sorry.
I was asking, was it more challenging this time because this was a staff member that came up with the idea for this game?
Actually, no, because the idea was good. We played his game jam, and it was really fun. And almost all of us who played it think that, yeah, let's give it a go. So we then greenlit the project and we move forward with it. So it wasn't difficult. Yeah. Plus, this person who came up with the idea, he was my student before. So I mean, again, I think we are just lucky. The team that we have, we knew each other for many years, and so things just becomes a bit smooth sailing. Now, when it comes to working together, there's always friction, there's always conflict, right? But I think that we are good. We are good on that.
Right. Now, well, for example, we have a Wade lady down here who obviously has played your games and loves your games. When you're thinking about your sequel, right? So you're working on game number 2 now, but you've already said you've already started thinking about what a sequel could look like for number 1. Is it challenging to work within the same character base but come up with a different story that people are going to enjoy and not just make the same exact story over and over again? Or is that a challenge that you like?
I think that when we first finished the Prince Creek Killings, the idea that we would make a similar type of game with a different contents crossed our minds, and we knew that if we do that, we can have a game in 2 years, not the 5 years, right?
Right.
But I was not comfortable with that. I felt it was like reproducing something with you're just changing the scenery, but what you are giving to to your fans or to your audience is a repeat of what you had in the beginning,
Right.
So we didn't want that. So actually what we did was right after the first release and after the game was optimized, I had a chance to go with my family to Japan. My wife is a Japanese, so we went to visit her parents. And at that time, there was, I think, good inspiration there. Right. So I thought of, it would be good to make another game that is in line with that and focus on what the game is supposed to be. So I went down that route. So sorry, I'm kind of maybe off track with what. Yeah.
It happens. I appreciate you being here. I'm sure you got a million things on your mind right now.
Right.
So when you're thinking about that as a game, the first game that you made, you just had one game. You're solely focused on that. You're probably not thinking as much about the company as a whole as you are about the game. But now that you're going into game number 2, you're working on game number 2. You still have this other game that's out there that people still love and enjoy. Do you find it that you're having to think about a lot more things at the same time, or are you still able to focus day to day on, okay, right now I need to be thinking about a certain room for game number 2, but later on today I need to be thinking about, going back to the first game? How do you divide up your time like that? Or your mental space, I guess.
Right. I think the one thing that is the biggest one is because the first one had a good reviews, there is the fear of failing if you make the second one and it's not as well received. And
Right.
I think in a way that fear does hold us back or help me back, so when I went to Japan and I got the inspiration, and I then later on went back again with some of my staff and to try to see if we can come up with a better idea, that kind of things. And it turned out that we came up with a few ideas, but none of them was something that I felt we should go into it. And the ones that we wanted somehow became over ambitious. Right. So but I think it's more important that that I step back and try to see and try to think about what is it that's stopping me, and when I realize it's the fear, I start to realize I don't even have a second product and I'm worried. What am I doing? Right. Right. So I think that was one of the realization I had. Regarding is it hard to switch gears? Is it hard to, like, for example, I'm now the project director for the second one. I think that turned out to be good because I could oversee the project and try to help them. So in a way, I play more of a role of the QA,
Right.
a QA person, while they, in a way, this becomes their child project or pet project,
Right.
Right. So I think that it probably is also needed to take a break from what I really want to do in order to see other stuff. So I'm also part of doing the marketing part, or involved in it right now. And I think based on what we couldn't do in the first one, talking with those publishers and directors, and we are trying to not make the same mistake for the second one.
Right. Steve over here says he sorry. Meso, I'm trying to pull it up. Sounds like it would get my old detective skills back up since I do investigating for fire departments. Now, there's something interesting. There's an aspect. Have you thought about adding a fire investigation in?
No, but it looks like a good idea.
That's another good. Do you have to, because I'm assuming in your regular life you don't do private investigating. Did you go and talk to private investigators, or did you try to talk to policemen or people maybe that maybe are closer related to what you're writing about to get you some knowledge? Or
Honestly, no. Right. I know that it would be great if we could make it like as real as possible.
Right.
I think that we just don't have the expertise nor the people, the right people for it, you know.
Right.
So what we are trying to do with this second game is just to make it as real as you can feel while
Right.
focusing on solving the crime. It might not be the ideal game for some people, but hopefully for even for them, it's fun enough to go through, and hopefully
Right.
for others, it is at least worth playing.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Now I know Mezzo, our fabulous director, said that down below in the links she put a link to the original game there, and then there's also, I guess, a demo for the second game that she said is going to be down below. So if any of the viewers want to check that out, you can check out our comments section down below, and there'll be links directly to both of those so that you can check that out for yourself. Fery, we're getting ready to come near the end of the interview, man. This has gone by so fast.
Right.
I want to ask you what did you learn from the first game? What do you think would be your number one lesson you learned from the first game that you try to keep in the back of your head moving forward to the game you're working on now?
Um, are you referring to, like, let's say first time developers? Like, is this
Right,
for
right,
them? Or...
right. Like like you had talked about marketing being something that you didn't really think about the first time, but now
Right.
that you're working on game number 2, you have all that experience from game number 1. What do you think is the biggest thing that you keep in the back of your mind? Like, let's not do this again. This was where we had a pitfall last time. We're going a different direction this time.
Okay. This is hard to answer because I think that if we didn't fail on so many levels with the first one, we would not have learned as much. We would take everything for granted. We
Right.
would have just a checklist that says, okay, send to streamers, send to curators, all this, and then and if it fails or succeed, we would not know where we made a mistake.
Right.
Right. So I think that the thing that I would say would be most important, or at least is important enough if anyone wants to tackle, let's say, a small company making games, is that work with people who can help you in the areas that you might be lacking. So in my case, I am more of a dreamer.
Right.
I always plan stuff, but I don't get things really done. But I have a friend here. She is very down to earth. She would question me about, you have a lot of projects. None of them are really done. What makes you think you can actually pull this big project that's going to be done in 2.5 years? Which of course,
Wow,
out to be
she don't
five,
play
right?
around, huh? She
No.
gets right to the point.
Right, right. And she helps me a lot with the company paperwork, which I am not good at those details, and
Right.
I don't remember those stuff, right? So I would say that having help that fills in what you are lacking is probably a huge thing, a huge asset to what you want to do. Secondly is don't be afraid to fail. We didn't know there are certain things that are really important. And it's actually that we didn't do it, that later on it came to bite us back, that we don't even need someone else to tell us, hey, you didn't do this. We are like, yes, you are right. We are not going to fail or make that mistake again,
Right.
And the third is, I would say that try to, especially if you are making a game, make a game that you really like to play first and foremost, because if you are catering it to the audience, and let's say you go to an expo and the feedback isn't as good as you hope, you might start to doubt if what you want to make is actually the right one. So if you, on the other hand, really want to play something that you like, I would say that is a good start. But at the same time, try to find out how it can cater to an audience that fits what you're trying to create.
Right.
I don't think that you can really please everyone. If you try
Right.
to please everyone, you would probably find out that you would lose many people.
Right.
But find out, like for example, in our case, we are trying to make detective games, right, or mystery investigation. Try to find out what hooks appeals to these fans, and use those things that hook the people to actually be your unique selling points of your game or of your product.
Right.
And there is something called the product life cycle. I would say that if your game has a good content, a really good narrative, um, you don't have to be afraid. What you have to probably focus on is how the game plays out. For example, if you love adventure games and you think that adventure games are great because they allow you to create the narrative that you want, go for it. But what you probably want to look at is it a 2D narrative game that is linear based because you want the players to focus the points that you as a developer wants them to experience on every part of the journey?
Right.
Or do you want to, or knowing that the audience now love more like an open world game, that they want to have a unique experience as opposed to other players, even though it's the same game, and you
Right.
create one that's actually one fitting for the current era while still maintaining the narrative that you think you want to share with your audience. I think that's very important, because if you stick to what you want and what you like, even though you have a good narrative, you might find yourself really trying hard to appeal to the wider audience.
Right.
So
Right.
other than that, it's just a matter of creating really good products, try to find good marketing, even working with publishers who you think can help you, and hopefully you have some good luck, I think.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Now I have two more quick, because actually one of the questions I was going to ask you is what advice you would give for new developers, but you answered a lot of it right there. Two more questions though. When you look forward to the future of EQ, when we're looking at the next 5 to 10 years, what do you see for your future?
So we started as a walking simulator company due to the limitations that we have at that time. And right now, we want to focus on creating really good content in terms of the narrative. And we want to challenge ourselves with, I don't think we can reach AAA level yet. I think that that maybe someday we can, but right now just saying that let's do that, I think is more of a dream.
Right.
But instead, we want to implement things that it's what the audience wants right now in terms of the genre that we are tackling. So let's say, how do you have a chance to approach witnesses to find out about alibis, right?
Right.
So a walking simulator does not provide that. So we want to implement that. The second one is people who play TPK are, they are wondering if only we had an in-game notepad, because right. And
right. That's Mezzo was saying she had a notepad that she kept to the side of the computer.
Right. So catering to them, we will try to implement something like that in our future games, right? And we want to try also to go beyond it by making even an interactive whiteboard if possible, right? And third, the next one will be like, some people say there's no side quest in the first one. So we want to try to see if we can also do that while trying to make the side quest actually interwoven with the main one. Otherwise, there would be no meaning for the side quest.
Right.
So we want to branch out to that, which is we want to put functionality, but we also want to make it so that it appeals to the players. Not only that, but we want to make it so that anyone who loves that genre should be able to play the game or pick up the game without being bogged down by all those hotkeys and that kind of things, right? So we want to try to adapt something that you can experience in real life into an interactive format that makes you feel good about yourself if you are able to solve it. So I think that in a way we are trying to go to not a AAA company, but hopefully someday, not too long, we are somewhere in between and heading there.
Right. Now, this question probably would have been better earlier. Probably is a terrible last question, but I'm going to ask it anyways. But so when you're developing a game, it takes several years. Do you worry about like the change of, say, culture or climate? Like maybe something that you're talking about in the game, maybe it's really relevant at this time period in 2022, but by the time the game actually rolls out 3 years from now, maybe it's not as relevant. Do you deal with any of that in your games, or do you try to make a game that's just going to be as timeless as possible?
I think to make a game as timeless as possible is probably, I'm not sure, but probably a lot of developers hope and dream. Like 20 years later, you can still play a game that came out before, and you're like, wow, this is a masterpiece. I think that would be great, right? But that's not. I don't think that happens to us. But at the same time, our game do not have that issue yet. So I can't really answer to your question. I do say that if you believe that what you're trying to input into, or what you're trying to put into your product is important, I think it's okay to put it. Later on, if it does become an issue, then deal with it later or handle it later. But if you are worried about it affecting like down the road, I think that worry might just stop you from even moving forward with it.
Wow.
Right. So of course, if you have an agenda that you are pursuing, that's a different story. For us,
Right.
we just want to create something that we ourselves love to play, and that our fans of that genre, when they play the game, that they actually enjoy it, rather than
Right.
feeling it's a gimmick or it is a copy of something. So that's the only thing we try to avoid. Other than that, we try to make it with the vision that we have
Right.
when we first started it.
Right. Wonderful. Well, Fairy, I have had absolutely an amazing time. We told you 40 minutes, but we've been running almost an hour here now. I've just had so much fun talking to you. Is there any last thoughts or anything you'd like to leave with people? Maybe if there's young developers in the audience that maybe want to make their own game, or fans of yours, or anything you want to tell people before we take off?
Network. Right. Network. Believe in your product, and work with people who can really help you. I would say that even if they are just giving you opinions, if they can give good ones, I would say go with them. What you want is really honest opinions about how you are doing, and be able to take it as a constructive criticism, and
Right.
And at the same time have belief in what you're trying to do. I would say that's a good starting point. Yeah,
Right.
and along the way, if you do fail at certain stuff, it's okay. It is painful, but it's okay, because if you fall, you can learn a lot. You can really learn a lot. And yeah.
Right, right. Well, wow. I'm Mr. Tomy. I've had an absolutely amazing time with you tonight. I can't thank you enough for spending time with us and letting us learn about your game. And for everybody that is watching right now, don't forget, down below in the comments sections, we have links to both of the games, actually. A demo for the second one. And the second one, again, really quickly, it's called, what is the name of the second one again? I
Scene
had it up here.
Investigators.
Scene Investigators. When are we looking for that to drop?
Sometime early next year.
Early next year. So make sure that you look for Scene Investigators early in 2023. Maybe you'll come back and talk to us once that comes out, and you have more to tell us about it.
I'd love to. Thank you.
Wonderful. Fairy, thank you so much for your time. I've had such a good time. I feel like I've learned so much about the game industry and about yourself. And we wish your lovely family a beautiful night.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
What do you see here?
A dinner party gone wrong.
Who's the victim?
One of the hosts.
Notice anything unusual?
The wine, the empty seat, the letter.
How many suspects are there?
4.
Do you know who did it?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that looks so good. Dude,
I'm
even
so
the
excited for
graphics are
it.
like so much more evolved than the first one too.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I played the demo because I have like I follow like the studio on Steam kind of thing, so I get updates. The moment the demo came out, I was like, they have another game. They have another game. I was very excited.
All right, since you
And I
follow,
played
it is on your problem. When that comes closer to getting out, we gotta have Fairy
I
come back.
I put it in the comments. So for those who don't know, we are developing a gaming show for our channel here.
Yes.
And I plan to play it when it comes out next year.
Woo-hoo!
So it will be on our channel, and we will be playing it. So I'm very
Maybe we can get an early copy or something and let
very
people know. Oh, that looks so good. Thank you so much.
So,
that was so much fun.
Fairy Tomy, domo arigatou gozaimasu for coming on our show.
And thank your daughter for being on the show as well.
Yeah, she was adorable. I loved her in her tutu. I was like, she's so cute. I was like, what? I'm not sure what he said because I was busy watching his daughter be adorable.
Right, that's the problem with these kids, man. They come in here and steal the scene.
Yeah, I have 2 boys. They're 8 and 12. Actually, the 8-year-old turns 9 this month, and they'll often like kind of come in through the door. I'm like, it's okay. They're like, and I'm like, you can come in. It's okay.
I know. All these
little,
cats
though,
and kids are killing my
time.
celebrity.
Yeah, that was so good. Thank you. I'm so excited that we got to talk to him because I just games are my thing, and my like original games that I love were point and click adventure. And that's a lot of how I felt the first game was like a point and click adventure with like detective investigative skills that you got to have.
Right.
Because I love finding codes. And it was like, there was a part in the game, like, you know, it's very open world-esque, but you know, right. Oh, I need to find a code for this. I need to find this. And it probably is somewhere around this area or something like that. And yeah, I got 92%, sir.
Sorry. I gave you 2% more credit.
But it was still detective rating.
Hey, so Metso,
yes.
Are you a screamer when it comes to video games? Like, do you scream at jump scares and stuff?
Like, okay. I don't know if you saw my comment earlier, and I joked. I said if Mr. Tomy needs like an opera singer for one of the games in the future, I sing opera, and I would like, I'll do it. And when I scream during jump scares, it's like that. So
all right. Well, I will be looking forward to that, seeing you scream when this game comes out.
When we do our gaming channel, for the first stream, I plan to do the mortuary assistant.
Right.
Which is it's a scary game, and the scares in the game are randomized.
Oh, so wow!
It's not the same every time. It's got 5 different endings and stuff, and I'll go to play it, and you'll hear me go ah, like and stuff like that, you know. And probably the biggest scare I had, I was playing Amnesia: The Dark Descent, and I screamed, but my legs also kicked the desk. My whole camera wobbled. I was like trying to steady everything. I was like, ah!
Dude, I bet there is no better music to a developer's ears than hearing somebody scream at like the right point.
I broke my earbuds once when I got scared. I was playing a game called Visage, and which is a very scary game. I didn't actually get to finish it because I got stuck. But I had earbuds in. And I went like this, because the thing jumps out at me. And of course I know it's not going to come through the screen, but I still went like this, pulled my earbuds off, and my PC is on the floor here. It used to be up here. And I literally yanked like the end of the earbuds cord away from the actual plug to the computer. So the plug for my earbuds were still in the computer, but the cord was not.
Wow. Oh, man. I had another question I wanted to ask Fairy about VR, like doing like these investigation games in VR. See, just another excuse to bring him back again.
That would be cool too. Like holding.
I might need to wear adult diapers if he starts making VR games, dude.
Like Phasmophobia VR is interesting to see. Anyway, I really enjoyed that interview, and I want him definitely to come back for Wincing Investigators comes out, and we can market it, like show it on our channel and stuff. So
right. We will help be part of the marketing this time.
Network, like you said. I was like, I know how to introduce myself in Japanese. That's pretty much like this is mostly and someone else. That's mostly it. I tried to learn it on an audio CD some years ago because my husband and I watch a lot of anime, and we prefer to watch it with English subtitles and listen to the Japanese because we really enjoy listening to the language. And so I was trying to learn it by audio CD, but I wasn't like using it. Like I didn't know anyone who spoke Japanese, so I learned a little bit, and then I'd have no one to talk to.
Right.
So I remember I used the one time I've used it was my son and I were on a ride at Disneyland with a bunch of 15-year-old girls who were from Japan, and I introduced us, and that was all I could do. But they were very, very nice and appreciative of it. It is excellent for travel. If I went anywhere.
If you left Vacaville.
Yeah, right. Anyway, so
and Kevin's that's a nice little transition there. Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah. Kevin, our dear Kevin, is our producer for the Comic-Con Adventures. Kevin goes to conventions every week and gives us a very nice report. So, without further ado, thank you, Kevin Hogan. Here is his report.
I'm from Northern California with another episode of California Comic-Con Adventures. On Labor Day, September the 5th, 2022, Ohana Comic-Con visited Turlock in Central California with another one of their fun cosplay Comic-Cons there. They had lots of local friends there come out to Central California there. Despite the warm weather there on Labor Day, we got to see their cool cosplay contest there. Lots of vendors showing off their cool souvenirs there. Ohana Comic-Con visits another city every single weekend up and down California there. They're very economically priced. Whenever they visit a city near you, definitely recommend checking out there so you get to hang out with your local friends there and see those cool costumes there. Also that same weekend there up in Sacramento there, the weekend of September the 2nd through the 4th there, 2022 was SAC Anime 2022. They had over 25,000 people visit the Sacramento State Convention Center there. There was a lot of stuff going on there. There were tons of panels. That whole vendor hall was just packed full of thousands and thousands of like souvenirs going on there. All those huge artist alley of stuff to see and buy there. There were all sorts of different panels and stuff for everyone's interest there. There were furry panels going on there for all the furry fandom there. There was even a foam battle group going on there for people to pick up a foam sword to battle each other. And that foam group does meet on weekends there in the Sacramento area. If anyone's interested, they can look up their page on Facebook if they're interested in joining their group there. And there was lots and lots of fun, interesting cosplay and costumes to see there. They had the Geek Fashion Show go on at night there. So we can see all the very creative dresses and outfits there on display there. They even had the dances in the plaza outside of the evening there. And they had the cosplay masquerade, which is like the cosplay contest at night there. Got to see all the very creative costumes there. Also during the days walking around there, it was very impressive there. There were celebrities signing autographs. It was a great time had by all. It was very impressive there. And for anyone interested in upcoming events, there's also fun things to look forward to. For example, in the Hollister area of the South Bay is going to be the Northern California Renaissance Fair. They're going to be starting up September the 17th on weekends and continuing through October the 3rd. So all you lords and ladies and any time travelers out there like Marty McFly's or Doctor Who's out there, get those time traveling cosplays ready there and Knights in Shining Armor outfits ready there for the Hollister travels there to the Northern California Renaissance Fair. And also in the Fairfield area on Sunday, September the 18th, Ohana Comic-Con is going to be visiting the Fairfield area there. So it'll be fun to check those guys out there, have a fun time with their cosplay contest there. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the pics, and we'll see you out there at the next Comic-Con.
Tequila! This is right to be a big shot. All right, everyone, thank you so much for coming out. You are 100% welcome to message us. And if you're interested in the show, if you want to shoot your show, if you want to be a designer, if you want to be a model, we are welcome. We welcome everyone. So.
Woo! Yes, I was at that SAC anime. That was that's why I'm here in my house.
That's why you're stuck inside.
Right. Hey, and on that note, to let you know too, Kevin had mentioned September 18th, Kyber Cave should be in Fairfield. They are officially all sold out, but you know, I kind of know some people, so we usually are able to get in there. Even when it's sold out. So that's the 18th. The 25th, we're going to be at Toy Fusion in Sacramento. And next month on the 9th, we are going to be in Woodland at the Collectible Stampede. And that's where they're going to have the wrestlers and burrito eating contests.
Oh, that makes me not hungry.
So there you go, Veronica. For Veronica who says I never ever promote where we're going to be at. There we go. We've got three places that we're going to be at here within the next month or so.
And guys, don't forget to check out on Friday nights, we have our After Dark show that starts at 8 p.m. Pacific. Recommended 18 or older for age, because there is some adult content. I cannot even English, bruh. Adult content and adult language is allowed, and so we recommend that 18 plus be on the show, or like at least parental discretion advised. And don't forget that every 50 subscribers we give away a Saber. Right now we are at 658. So keep us going. Share.
42 more, and we're giving away another Saber, guys.
Yes, and so thank you also, James Kaiser, for our Flow of the Show clip. Thank you, Kevin Hogan, for your convention report. And thank you, Fairy Tomy, for appearing on our show and talking to us all about kind of the game dev world and what it takes to make a game.
Right. And our Flow artists. Oh.
Yes, Stefan Oz. His name is down below in the description. Don't forget to check out the Scene Investigators demo. It is available on Steam right now, as well as the Penguins Creek Killings itself. The full game is available on Steam. Look for Scene Investigators full release coming out next year. Hajime Mashite for Mr. Toby. It was very nice to meet him. Nice to meet you. In Japanese. There's a few ways to say it depending on the situation. From what I recall, it was so long ago.
I want to thank everybody for sticking with us for a longer night than normal tonight too.
Yes,
like I said,
it is a lot longer than normal.
Some of these interviews I just get away with myself. I just keep asking
Friday
questions.
Night, 18 plus Friday night show. Gonna play pool and use adult language like swell. I feel like I need a monocle if I say the word swell. All right, so to close out our show, of course, we have our Talk of the Town. So without further ado, please enjoy the Talk of the Town, and we will see you Friday night.
And make sure to check out the website, kybercave.com. We got all your Saber needs.
Check out kybercave.com for all
lots
your
of Saber merchandise.
Saber merch, Saber needs, all that jazz. Get yourself your own Saber.
Woo!
It's fun to play with. Van was giving me a hard time. Was it last week? You were doing the interview, and I was down below, playing with my Saber by myself. All right, guys, have a good week. Bye.
Bye. Love you guys.
Cheers. Follow me. Call in. Right away, sir. Stop. We have to find those resistance alert. We're counting on you. Just a moment. Affirmative. Right. The First Order welcomes your allegiance. Thank you, sir. On your way then. Goodbye. Thank you.